Good old boys.
I'm Mark.
Bog beef. What's poppin', buddy?
Oh, you know, the pretty much the same thing as the last 2 weeks.
Oh, it's bad times over here, dude. I'm on day 5, no hot water.
Cold showers only.
Yeah. I think this is one of those things that Jordan Peterson did all this crazy shit to psych himself up, taking cold showers and no toilet paper and...
Yeah, well, that example's a little less impressive than it was a couple months ago, right?
Well, you never know, man. I could just lose it. This could be the week.
Yeah, considering the subject tonight, yeah.
I could end up floating down a river after we talk about this.
What are we talking about?
I don't even know if we're allowed to say it. Let's start out with a little story time here. How many podcasts are there where, like, the YouTube shows and this kind of thing where the premise is basically failed actors and grad students and people like this that say nice things about Bernie through your radio to get you to send them money?
Yeah, people who didn't quite make the cut complaining about the people who did. Pretty big genre.
But we'll take the high road and let's say there's hundreds of people, hundreds of big time media hundreds of big time little podcasts out there that they discuss the Bernie Sanders. They're all in for this Bernie Sanders campaign. They analyze, which is over now, but over the past 6 months or whatever, they've been looking at every angle. Or is there a threat here? Amy Therese is popping off. It's going to cost us some votes in Sydney. There's a lot of that, right?
Yeah, she got memory hold like 3 different times.
Yeah. Back. Have you heard the last couple episodes of What's Left? It's been really good lately.
Yes, of course. I always listen to our friends of the podcast.
Yeah. I saw Benjamin's doing something different, but now they got big Oliver Bateman's taking the reins over there. He's doing a good job. He's getting we talk about bullshit, farts and assholes and blood infusions, but over there he was a professor and all that, and he gets to flex his muscle.
Did you listen? It was funny listening to him on our show and then listening to him with Amy, where the IQ rating went up like 20 or 30 points, and Bateman's just like popping off, just brilliant, erudite sayings. I was like, wow, we made me realize how dumb we are.
They have decorum over there and stuff. We don't here, and that's why we're the boys to tackle this podcast.
Yeah, special shout out to our boy Jeff, who taught us how to pronounce Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Next week he can work on which one's the salad fork.
Yeah, I don't have an attorney on retainer, so I need to stay out of his sites. I do have a tight ass though. You might be into that. Let's see. Okay, so everybody's all in on this Bernie Sanders campaign. Whenever news stories come out, people share them. I never saw this story share. And there's like 20 of these. But let's. So this is the USA Today. This is from February 29th.
Leap day.
Taking the stage after his landslide victory in South Carolina, Joe Biden hugged his longtime friend, Representative James Clyburn, who gave the former vice president a coveted endorsement 3 days before the state's primary. "You brought me back," a beaming Biden told Clyburn, the House Majority Whip and highest-ranking African-American in Congress, whom he addressed as "my buddy." It was no exaggeration. Clyburn is a landmark figure in a state where roughly 60% of the Democratic voters are black. Exit polls indicate this. Listen to this. Take this in. Exit polls indicate that 47% of the Democratic primary voters in South Carolina said Jim Clyburn's endorsement was an important factor in their vote. 24% said it was the fact.
Yeah, Washington Post said it changed everything for Biden.
This is a big story. I never heard anybody discuss this.
I looked up some stuff before the episode, and I saw a great sentence, and it's Clyburn has long made it a practice not to endorse a candidate until close to the primary, if at all. He said he wants candidates to court voters in his state, make their case and spend their money. That's a man who understands politics.
You damn right. If you Yeah, looking through his MO here, and the brand of politics that we talk about here, and I want to get into that a little bit. Here's some quotes from Jim Clyburn. I don't get mad, I get even. Jim Clyburn defends calling coronavirus an opportunity to restructure the government. He goes on, but basically to bring out what he wants to see politically. Yes, I'm down to do that. Do you think that's maybe that's a strange thing to say? Do you think that's a strange sentiment in politics?
I mean, no, of course not.
You should be thinking like that all the time.
Yeah. So going back to what you're saying, why aren't we hearing that from the peanut gallery?
Well, I've been bringing this up every day on Twitter since this happened, and people told me, yes, you guys are the only people that I didn't listen to it, but people told me they listened to the big funeral procession episode of Chapo, and they never brought him up once. They brought up woke stuff and all this shit, and they never brought up this. Remember, Biden was not doing well up until this point.
No, and okay, so this is not unique to Clyburn, but he's probably the best example around because he's been around forever. He's admirably open about what he does. Like this is patronage politics. This is the essence of it. He wants people to come to his state. He wants to spend their money. He wants to have to earn their vote. He's gonna make them sing for their supper. Now, really, the question should be why aren't other leaders doing that?
There's multiple questions here. I want to move one thing out of the way. So a lot of people say, well, that no one wants to talk shit because this guy's black. I guess there's some amount of that, but I do not think that is the case here. I don't know if I need to bring up examples, but they have destroyed the careers of civil rights leaders. Remember what happened to Cornel West when he started talking shit about Obama at the wrong time? They don't give a fuck about that. I do understand that. I do understand there is certain people that are like, well, I'm just not going to talk shit about anybody who's a black civil rights leader. But no. You misunderstand. They don't want to talk about machine politics because this breaks the spell. And when we talk about our brand of politics, people get upset and they say, "Oh, this kills my enthusiasm." When I went to college, we learned about Karl Marx and all these grand theories of how to order the world. You're talking about dirty stuff with patrons and clients and money and dirty deeds. This is what I signed up for.
To go back to why people were afraid to talk about it, yeah, if you bought the advertised version of the story, that would be true. But and this might be a controversial thing to say, but whenever you hear people talk about people of color, you should probably just treat that the way you would if they were saying like NASCAR dads, because people of color doesn't really describe. You're not talking about people or the shared struggle of human beings. You're talking about a potential voting bloc. Oh, here's an easy way to figure that out, and I want to talk about her a little bit later. Nicole Hannah-Jones, the 1619 Project lady. There was a little flare-up recently because she said she's very tired of all these media figures writing about the bat flu epidemic and talking about communities of color when they meant black people. She said that. She's like, you what you mean is black people, so say that. And some people pointed out, you're being a hypocrite. You used to say people of color. And that's true, because when she's doing her job, I'm talking about the whole political coalition. But she doesn't really think of people that way. She doesn't really think of people of color when she's thinking about people. She thinks about certain groups. But there's no such thing.
Jim Clyburn called Biden an honorary black guy. Do you think he understands?
Well, and when he endorsed Biden, and when John Lewis endorsed Hillary Clinton, and then he just recently endorsed Joe Biden, people were complaining about how, Bernard Sanders marched for civil rights. Like, he got arrested. There's pictures of him being arrested by the cops, desegregation protests. And, of course, Hillary Clinton, super predators. Joe Biden not a fan of busing. People are like, this is rank hypocrisy, and John Lewis is selling out people and selling out the ideals, and Jim Clyburn but they're not, because it's not about if Joe Biden's politics are correct. It's about what he thinks that Joe Biden will do for his clients. And Jim Clyburn is very important to Joe Biden now. So it's like AOC and Sanders. When you become necessary for them to attain power, you have leverage.
Now, Biden doesn't look very good, does he? I don't know if he could make it 8 years. Certainly, I don't know if he could make it 8 weeks. So his choice of VP is going to be very important. Clyburn, as part of this deal, he wanted input on who the vice president is. Now imagine if you're that vice president. Now how you got that job. Now imagine the leverage that Mr. Clyburn would have then. I think it's important. It's important because we're talking about endorsements. So there's an endorsement counter on what's an endorsement? Let's take a step here, because when you talk to people like that are into politics these days, they're in outer space because of college. They get this weird philosophy was not something done by 19-year-olds for thousands of years. You don't need to get into that for a long time. What you need, let's start here with a little definition. This is the definition. You didn't get this in college. You got this in high school. I guarantee you they told you about this in high school. A political machine is a political group in which an authoritative leader or a small group command support of a core of supporters and businesses who receive rewards for their efforts. This machine's power is based on the ability of the boss or the group to get out the vote for their candidates on election day. And then the very next paragraph has a couple words highlighted. They are the first highlighted word, which is great here, is party whip. Next is political boss. Next is patronage, and then spoil system. Those are your key words for the article of political machine. Jim Clyburn is the party whip.
Majority whip, yeah.
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 Okay, so when Joe Rogan or Chapo Trap House or whoever, when they endorse somebody, they're not getting any. They're saying, "I like this guy." They're not getting anything out of that. There's nothing behind that. You need to think, if you're a left winger, you may remember Jerry Falwell's political machine in the 80s. When Jerry Falwell would endorse somebody, this means that if this guy wins, he must give me spoils. People would go vote for this person. Hey, we're all going to go vote for whoever he said. This is what's going on here. You get this thing where people say, "Oh, the Republicans and Democrats are exactly the same because they have the same beliefs about the epistemology of all this bullshit," and they're like, "None of this is. You're not in our world here. Those concepts are not being handled by these leaders. These leaders have patrons and clients.
It's not ideological. Joe Biden has taken the opposite position on almost everything. If you look at this election over the years, I mean, when he says woke shit, does anybody really believe it?
No.
Maybe when AOC says woke shit, she might believe that. I could, she's young. She went to college. She's been in that life. Maybe she really means that shit. Doesn't matter, but she might. There's no way that Joe Biden means it, which means he knows there's a reason to say it. And
yes.
If you're out there competing, trying to make statements that will appeal to people's their ideological beliefs, and it's like you're coming to you don't even have a knife at the gunfight. You're just like bringing your fists. And this is exactly what happened to Bernard. There are I saw that after Lewis endorsed him, that was 38 of the Congressional Black Caucus that endorsed Joe Biden. Like there's only like 50 of them, right? So
Yeah.
it's an overwhelming majority of the people in the Congressional Black Caucus, which is like every black senator and representative. Like they said, yes, this is our guy. Now that's a machine.
Now, to go a step further than this, we have these two parties, and they have different strategies. And so the Democratic Party, what I think. Oh, by the way, so here's so why don't people talk about it? Let me check this out. So I have a pretty small account on Twitter. I have not even 2,000
followers, something like that.
Yeah, and I talked shit about. I talk mad shit about all Clyburn and AOC, and I made this little collage, and I said these 4 grifters are something. So I called 4 people a grifter. I called AOC a grifter, Jim Clyburn a grifter, and 2 other people. And the post was saying they're all grifters, but I was saying Clyburn knows what's up. A blue check took offense. This blue check with 100,000 followers. He stepped up and he said, "Who are you?" He said, "Who are you? I need to know, and you need to tell me what's going on here." And he says, "Are you talking?" He says, "Are you talking shit about Jim Clyburn?" And I was like, "Oh, Jesus, this guy's." This guy's in D.C. He's some kind of lawyer, political guy, whatever. I looked him up, and so remember there's 4 people that I was attacking. One of them's AOC, and one of them's Clyburn. This gentleman was AOC's head advisor. He wasn't upset about me talking shit about AOC. He was upset about me talking shit about Jim Clyburn.
There are 2 reasons for that. One, this is one of the few machines left that really works well. And there's 2, and this is where I'm going to kind of break from you and saying, yes, the entire moral authority of progressive politics and the Democratic Party by extension, is based in the civil rights movement. When Lewis endorsed Biden, he called him a moral giant. He didn't say he's a great man. He's a moral giant. This man, he's like a archbishop. And that moral authority, so when AOC talks about environmental racism, and this is why it's necessary for us to include whatever in a potential bat flu stimulus package, without this, it is just a party of, I hate to use the word, but, neoliberal people. This is the thing they can lean on as something that makes it not just a political struggle, but like one of justice, one of morality. Because they have to do that, by the way, because they ditched the workers, around the time before most of us were born. So when it stopped becoming a party for labor, they had to come up with a new reason for being. And slowly over time, this has become it.
Yeah. This is what kind of what Dave is talking about.
Yes.
Everything is every movement is a civil rights movement, and if you talk shit about the civil rights movement, you get canceled. I don't. So here's where I see this. The most functional part of the Democratic Party is its dominance of the cities. California, New York, and these concentrated urban centers, and now this non-national machine, but they do vote. A lot of the Democratic governors and mayors, they do shit all at the same time and stuff. But I see there's this urban machine that controls like the bureaucrats and the state government officials and stuff. Basically, these people who've moved into Virginia now. And this machine functions really well. Those kinds of machines respond best to so like if you're running for office in New York or California, in most races the primary is everything. And so, like, you know, like 11% of the voters can decide who's going to be elected. That's where machines are really, really strong. All the famous machines of American politics were all at the city level. I think that people don't want to open the curtain. Let's get happy here and say, well, how do you beat this? So you have two ways you can roll here. If you're dealt into one of these political machines, if you're like a Chicago public school teacher or something, then you're involved in this stuff, and I would tell you to go with it. You should, whoever your local your leg breaker is, and they say, hey, you know, we're at the teachers union, we're gonna choose this person. You should do that. That's gonna help you out the best.
Yeah, if there are personal consequences, you don't need to fuck around with this kind of stuff.
I don't mean personal consequences. I mean someone that's involved in one of these, if in one of these political machines.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying if it's might affect your career or your standing in your community, then yeah, just go along with it.
You don't have to have the point is you don't have to be like you don't have to be much. You don't have to have very much. What was the deal in Nevada? There was the culinary union or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one. You know, you're whatever, a pit boss of the circus. I mean, you're so you know. If you're one of those people, you need to vote who your person says are. Now, let's push those people aside. So fuck them. I'm not one of them. You're not one of them. How do you beat this? You beat this with an expanded electorate. Basically, you got to go do what Bernie Sanders did in 2016. You got to do it again. This is the only way to beat it. It's the only way.
This is why back when they first started talking about the stimulus, the bat flu stimulus, you had guys like Hawley and Cotton flirting around with, you know, we want to do UBI, and like those guys wanted it to be actual universal, because this is one. If you can't take part in the machine, it does behoove you to just, you know, blow the shit wide open. Universal programs spreads out the spoils to the point where it's basically impossible for you to deliver stuff to your boys in the way that is necessary to keep a machine running. People become free agents.
That's it. The here's some things that people could do. Do you remember all the fucking there was Here's where Sanders went wrong in 2020. And let's not get into like if they did it on purpose, whatever. Who cares? What went wrong is that the people who were dealt into these political machines, they should have just said, you know, God bless you.
I'm with Warren, yeah.
Peace out. There was all this crying and the campaign said, well, you know, we want to have the most diverse this. There was all this bullshit about like that Nevada culinary thing. Look, if they're dealt in, they're dealt in. You got to go bigger. You got to get more. If you can't get more, then Bernie Sanders just needs to be then he's not relevant to some kind of like awakening political movement. He just needs to serve the LGBT and this and that and just be a regular crook. That's fine. But if you're trying to do this, if you're trying to do anything where you're hearing if you're trying to do anything that you listen to these kind of podcasts for, you have to go get people who are not dealt in. That's
They did the exact opposite. He was running a campaign in 2016 that was quite universal. He did nothing but talk about the banks and wages, and that's stuff that is my dad hates the fucking banks as much as any Marxist does. I guarantee you. He's not for ideological reasons, the very obvious practical ones. So a lot of these people who would have never voted Democrat liked Sanders and supported him, but they went away from it stung them. And you touched on this in one of the prior episodes when you said that a lot of these people working for his campaign, this wasn't acceptable to them. They didn't want to get branded as, hey, I was on the campaign of that the guy who was against intersectional whatever. Because he's out of he's no longer a national figure. He's done, but they're going to be around for as long as they can.
Yeah, this is the thing where people right now. There's a lot of people going after Bernie, and if you're listening, it's probably half the people right now are saying, "Fuck you! You took our money. You're a coward," and all this kind of stuff. I don't think that's warranted.
He is who he's always been. He's like he wouldn't have been a representative and a senator of a small state for so long if he was capable of doing the things that people really wanted him to do. He doesn't have that instinct, and if he did, then he probably wouldn't have advocated the stuff that he advocated.
So, I don't know.
Or they would have killed him like they killed Law.
Well, okay, so we had the 2016 campaign, you had a 2020 campaign. They had a totally different look. In the 2016 campaign, he was going for that big expanded electorate. That would have changed everything. 2020, you had like this smattering of woke shit and there'd be a little bit of a moral crime that would have to be involved. And the reason that it's a moral crime is basically all the hot takes and the political bullshit coming out of the academia and the cancellations, all the stuff on the ground that changed from 2016 to 2019 made it so it would be impossible for him to hire someone to say things that he would say in 2016. He could have said it. Bernie could have said, open borders is not good for American workers. He could have said that. He couldn't have hired somebody who was 45 who'd be willing to say that. That's not Bernie's fault.
Okay, he probably could have, but yes, he couldn't get them from. When you go looking for people like that, you have a very big risk, which is that they're going to be crazy people and cause problems. So yeah, he can't go from the DNC roster and find those people. Well, and another point, maybe it doesn't matter anyway, because with that expand the electorate strategy, he probably can't win the Democratic primary to begin with, because you're saying, okay, the people who are to bring in outside people, and in a national election you can do that, but in a primary you're getting this actually going to vote, the core, which is who votes in the Democratic primary. I'm going away from what you want. Why do you think we went to the primary system?
It could be done. It could be done. It's wrong to say it couldn't be, because he got awful close in 2016. It might involve all kinds of crazy shit. It might involve acting like Trump, like you were saying.
It definitely would. The only way it could have possibly worked, he would have had just gone scorched earth from day. He should have went up there the first time and said, "Look, you guys dicked me over last time. I'm not letting that happen again. If you try to rat fuck me, I'm going to run third party. I'm not only am I promising you that I'm not going to pledge to support them, I'm probably not going to if you try to fuck me over again." And that might have been wildly unpopular with voters, and it didn't matter anyhow, but it sure would have been better than this, which can't put a good taste in your mouth.
Well, the point is that, so I'm saying any 45-year-old person that volunteers in politics, that went to Harvard or Yale, they have nice teeth. You can't get one of those people to say that to say the things that make you that universal candidate.
No, they don't know how to.
That's a thing that changed. That was not true in 2015.
They don't know how to dog whistle it either, because, like, people would make these accusations at him, and they would go like, well, actually, Bernard's position is the more woke one. He cares even more, and actually, black women under the age of 39, they support. You can't win that way, because for one thing, that expanded electorate you're trying to get, they're tuning out immediately. Okay, this is not about me. I've turned a channel, and then two, nobody's going to buy it when the actual machine that represents those people, that those people support, don't support you. And this is kind of the thing you said earlier about how it's not that these people are like they're afraid somebody's going to call them a racist, and that's true. They don't want to get on the bad side of this machine, because that will fucking finish you politically.
Yeah, it's scary. There's people that'll say some wild shit that won't talk. That are afraid of getting on the other side of this machine. I heard someone. It's like 50. Someone told me that. The reason why Bernie wanted, there was a reason why Trump wanted Bernie to win is because Trump is just as scared of this machine. Even with Biden, I'm not sure if that's true or not. But this machine, it's got some. I don't think. We'll just put it this way: I don't think Trump's got this made.
Of course not.
I want to go check out the betting lines, and if Trump is like huge winner right now, I would put some money on the field, because
I don't see how anybody could think that right now. All the shit that's happening, no way.
They're thinking, well, he's going to fuck him up in the debate.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, because he's got the successor lined up, but okay, but. That's fine for people. The problem when you get to the national debate is, and you saw this in 2016, because people were heavily influenced by the debates. So if you get Trump and Biden up there, and Biden can't do the clock test or whatever the meme is, that could actually hurt him, because your average voter is not taking these things into consideration. They're not going to be thinking, oh, well, that's fine because Stacey Abrams is sharp. They're going to be like, Jesus Christ, this guy's retarded. What are we going to do? I can't vote for him. So that is a consideration. But aside from that, I don't see how you could think that Trump's in a good situation, or these people who are saying that the election's already over are engaged in the dark version of wishful thinking.
Yeah, or they're caught up in the moment. It's
emotional.
The one thing people haven't thought about is that you don't have to show up to debates anymore if you don't want to. Trump showed up to him because it's free. He didn't have all this money and shit.
I don't know, but sure, but presidential debates.
You don't. I think ever since.
You think he could not even have one debate?
You got this virus going around, and plus, I think that I thought this was true before the virus, by the way. So we can if you what do you
if he can successfully do that, especially if there's a another bat flu epidemic in September, October, then. If you're running Biden's campaign, you would like everybody to just replace the current Biden with Biden from 10 years ago. If you can do that, that would really help.
So here's what they can do. First off, he can just not show up to a bunch of them. I think that's I don't know if it was Palin.
There's only going to be 3 debates regardless.
There's been some precedent for this. I think it was Palin. Because Palin went to a couple of debates and she got fucked up. And I think so. one of the things she did is one of the things that he'll do. He'll have to go to one or two, and he'll do what Palin did, where they'll get him on some Adderall or something like they did a couple times, and he can just not respond to Trump and just talk past him. That's what Palin did, and it worked okay. But anyways.
Okay, but there was the problem with that is that Palin's thing was she didn't know anything, but she was really good at memorizing stuff and just spitting out things. He can't do that. Apparently, it doesn't seem like he's able to do that. You can't give him canned lines and get him to say them. He's like your grandpa after he's had too many bourbons. So I mean, I don't know. This is getting kind of in the weeds. There's, like you said, there's a billion podcasts that you can listen to that'll talk about this boring shit.
So let's go back to Jim Clyburn. So, number one, I think it's a crime that this Clyburn thing was not brought up a ton. This is the kind of thing that people need to be talking about if they want to actually.
They can't.
What do you mean?
All right, first you have at the very top level you have what you've already talked about. There's like I don't want to cross these people. I got a family to feed. I'm a political person. I'm not going to touch this shit. You can go down a step and you can talk about like podcasters and journalists and stuff. Some of them are don't want to touch it because they don't want to get in trouble. But here's another thing. As many people have pointed out, especially dissidents on the right, there have been things that have seeped into the academy that were pretty much taught to everybody in college over the last few decades. And it inculcates people with ideas that make you feel very itchy to start arguing with someone about Jim Clyburn. We have a great example from late last year, and I brought it up earlier, the 1619 Project. If you're not familiar with that, Nicole Hannah-Jones is a writer for the New York Times, and she did this long essay, and the basics of the essay is that America from the start was born out of slavery. The colonists only rebelled because they were concerned about Britain stopping the slave trade. America is tainted with the original sin of slavery. The only way to fix it is to do that. And in her own words, her end goal is she wants to see a reparations bill passed. Now, normally you say this is who cares, but even though this was attacked by people. Okay, taken down by, let's see, World Socialist website, a Brown professor and a emeritus professor of U.S. history at Princeton.
Tons of history professors.
Yes, not everybody, but it's pretty obvious. Even Nicole Hannah-Jones herself has admitted that she fucked up in places. Doesn't matter. Already schools are adopting parts of it. Buffalo is making it required for middle school and high school kids. Let's see. I got a quote from them. It's a really good one. The project will, quote unquote, render a true history of the institution of slavery for all students, a history which is often silenced in mainstream curriculum and textbooks. End quote. All right. You're listening to this right now. You probably skew to the left of like mainstream society. You've heard of the 1619 Project. Do you think that anything that Nicole Hannah-Jones wrote should be taught to children? Do you believe that this is a subject that we just really haven't been clear about? Do you think that that it would be a good thing, and more importantly, it's true that the entire basis of the American nation state was a protection racket for slavery? I would think that some of the people in New England and, Abraham Lincoln would have something to say about that. But do you really believe that? And I think that, no, people don't believe that. But, hey, this Miss Jones is going to she's already become famous. She's got lots of speaking gigs. she's now going to be taught to children. The words that she put down will be taught to them as the truth. This is a spoil of its own. This is not just for her and the multitude of bullshit departments at universities that's money, that's jobs, but not just that. You're reinforcing this narrative with shit like this that makes sure that there is no effective way for anybody to the left of Chuck Schumer to say jack shit about Jim Clyburn or John Lewis or anything like that. How are you going to do it? You can't. This is everything to your entire political philosophy and certainly to your political party.
Do you think they're setting up? So like right now, Hitler in World War II is sort of we kind of got rid of God, but we kept a Satan around with Hitler, and that's sort of like the moral, like you have to have a compass where sort of everybody can say, well, this is a bad thing. And right now, I think that's Hitler. Do you think like in what they're planning for is the future where people are like, oh, it's like, honestly, I was shocked when last year there was a small story that came up with Mussolini, and one of his granddaughters said something like, I don't know, they were fighting over his remains or something.
I think it was picked those photos of his body hanging, something like that.
Sure, and there was all these people in the early 20s, college students and stuff that were like, they're like, fuck her, fuck Mussolini's daughter, she should pay for her. The Mussolini's didn't pay enough. I'm like I don't know if you talk. I don't know many. Like if you talk to, this was a girl that said, and I was thinking like, just go ask a random girl in her 20s to name the Axis and Allies. This ain't gonna last forever.
Well,
I couldn't pick Mussolini's wife, granddaughter, daughter out of the lineup. I don't know shit about him.
There are people on the right who have very strong opinions about this and theories about it, and yes, this is nations do have founding mythologies. Ours at one point was the melting pot and the frontier and English liberty. I do think that
World War II is us now.
Yes, it was. And necessarily because, in the subsequent years, the makeup of the country changed a lot. So you need a common thing, and like the Greatest Generation. But you don't have to go this way. You can make America the devil. Well, it had to be Hitler.
Well, anyways, this is the. We should talk about this another day, because what's going on here, I think, is a big political topic. I think Miss Hannah, was it Hannah Jones?
Yep.
She's been reading her Gramsci.